Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Gaming here, back in another video. Today's episode, we're going to take a quick look at playing Swain in the mid or top lane. This guide's going to be a little bit more focused on the mid lane specifically, but you could take the same build and go top lane as well. Again, this is going to be for beginners who are like brand new to League of Legends, people who just might not be familiar with Swain at all. We're just going to go over some of his abilities, core items, his combos, just kind of how to play the champion in general. Let's start out with some of his abilities first. Let's first go over his passive, Ravenous Flock. Swain is going to collect something called soul fragments. So he collects these soul fragments from some of his abilities, Vision of Empire, Nevermore, and Enemy Champion Death. So we'll talk about those abilities here in a minute. And then these soul fragments are going to restore his maximum health and permanently grant him 15 max health. So the more that you can hit your abilities, the more fragments you stack, the more health that you get. And you kind of become a sort of tanky mid lane sort of sustained champion. So long story short, hit your abilities and kill enemy champions, and you get a whole bunch of stacks. So let's go ahead and go into his Q, Death's Hand. When unleashes 5 Eldritch bolts, each dealing damage plus 16 magic damage per bolt past the first. So the way that this works is we'll just put a point into it. You just simply throw out your Q, and it just kind of does a burst of sort of like a cone frontal ability. But we'll just spawn a dummy here, and you can kind of see. We can. Oh, we need to put on our auto refresh cooldowns, and you can see. Again, just kind of a fun ability to use, but you just kind of use it over and over. It does a big burst damage in a frontal cone. Up next, we have his W, Vision of Empire. So Swain opens a demon eye, revealing location. For 1.5 seconds, it deals damage and slows by 50% for 1.5 seconds. And this is one of the abilities that we talked about earlier that will grant you a soul fragment if hit. So it's kind of hard to hit, but if you do hit it, a lot of the times it can set up a kill for your team. So just kind of show you what it does. We'll put a point into it. Let me take it off quick cast really quick to show you that. So we'll press W, and you see that you get this. You kind of see in our map down here, we get this blue bar. And we can cast this from a pretty dang long range. And this is kind of what I was talking about. If you're playing in the mid lane, you can really set up an ally or like another lane with a kill with this. So just to kind of show you what that looks like. So let's say you're in the mid lane, right? And you're walking towards bot. We can cast our W here, and you can see we're not even to the dragon pit yet. And we can cast this on our bot lane. And, you see a carry here kind of overextended. You can drop that right on them. If it hits and your allies see it, they can all in and kill them. So it's a good way for you to be able to kind of support lanes without having to fully commit to walking down there. So next ability I'm going to talk about is his E and Nevermore. This will also grant a soul fragment if hit. So Swain launches a wave of demonic power that returns detonating on the first enemy hit to deal magic damage and roots him in the air for 1.5 seconds. Rooting a champion allows Swain to reactivate this ability and pull them in. So we'll just simply spawn a dummy here. We'll put a point into it and show what it does. So we will cast E, and you see that we hit, and you see that we get these dotted lines. So we'll do it again. So this means that when we reactivate our E, we're going to pull them back into it. So you actually have to press the button twice if you hit it. So E, then E again, and it pulls them to us. You do not have to have your cursor on them. You don't have to right-click them. You simply just press E twice. So again, E, E. That's all you got to do. So again, you will get a soul fragment. You can see right now we've hit it twice, and we have 30 total health gained. And I want to show that passive effect one more time on what it actually looks like if you hit it. So we'll W him. And you can see that raven that flies to us. When that raven flies to you, that means you get a stack of soul fragments. So finally, let's take a look at his ultimate, Demonic Ascension. The Swain frees the demon, which allows him to deal magic damage and drain 19 health per second to nearby enemies. This depletes over time, but can be recharged indefinitely if you are near enemy champions. And if you do get a takedown, so if you get a kill or an assist, this charge is going to be fully reset. Now, after 2 seconds and every 8 seconds afterwards, this demon flare is going to activate, and it's going to do a whole bunch of burst damage. It will also apply a slow. So we take a quick look at what this looks like. So we'll just walk up to our enemy target here, press R, and you see we have this red bar. This red bar is our charge, and as long as that bar is up, we can stay in this form literally forever. So you see we're dealing some damage, we're getting some healing, And you can also continue to reactivate it. So I can press R and do a burst of damage, and I'm still in my form, right? And I think I do have auto refresh cooldowns on. Let's turn that off and see what it looks like. So we can press R, and after 8 seconds, this is the 8 seconds I was talking about in the tooltip, it will recharge, and I can press it again. And I can continue to do this forever as long as I'm in range of an enemy. So I moved away from the target. I don't know if you guys got to see that yet. Let me show you one more time. Okay, so I'll activate it, and you can see the red bar does go down. And once that bar goes down, it will auto deactivate for us. Okay, let's take a quick look at what our typical combo is going to look like. So typically what you're going to be doing is, it's kind of hard to hit your W, but you can kind of sneak it in there if you hit an E. So your E, if we take a look at it, it roots them for 1.5 seconds. So we want to take advantage of that root to be able to land our W. So what we can do is we can E, W, now that he's rooted, and then E again. So I wasn't fast enough there, but if I'm a little quicker, I can land my E, my W, and then still have enough time to pull him towards us. So let's take a look at that one more time. So we can E, W, and then E again. And you can see we're able to land our W because we're able to lock him down for those few seconds. So that's one of the things that's typically overlooked on Swain, is how to do his basic combo, is you sneak your W in on top of your E. So let's take a look at his full combo one more time without the ultimate. So say like it's pre-6. This is kind of your pre-6 combo. So E, W, E, Q, auto attack. That is your pre-6 combo. Look at it one more time. E, W, E, Q. And I did a little bit earlier there. You can actually save your W until your E actually hits. And then kind of an aggressive combo that you can use is pretty much what we just talked about, but to ultimate in front of all of it. And the reason you're going to ultimate in front of all that is because if you can land your combo afterwards, that's essentially another 3 to 4 seconds that they're standing in your ult. And that gives you a 3 to 4 more second earlier window that you can press R again and activate your Demon Flare. So let's take a look at this. Let me refresh my cooldowns. We can ultimate, E, W, E, Q, auto attack, ultimate. Then we'll take a look at this one more time. I'm going to turn off the active or the auto refresh cooldown so it's a little bit easier to see. Ultimate, E, W, E, Q, ultimate. Right, and then just stay in range and auto attack. And now you're looking for Qs, and you're looking to reactivate your ultimate again if possible. Now, what makes that a little bit easier to pull off, I think this is a good kind of segue into items, is our Rylai's Crystal Scepter. So that Crystal Scepter will apply the slow effect, so you can actually use your ultimate to engage. You can apply that slow effect through your engage, and then it makes it a little bit easier to land your EWE combo. So for that reason, Rylai's is one of our core items. It's not the first item that you rush, though. The first item that you rush is going to be your Blackfire Torch. And that's going to be this item here. This will give us stacking ability power. It's really strong right now. A lot of people are building it. Even my main Victor is building it at the moment. And it's really good for sustained damage. And a lot of that is due to both the Baleful Blaze as well as the Blackfire. So damaging abilities deal 20 bonus magic damage per second for 3 seconds. Then we also have a Blackfire down here for each enemy champion, epic, and large monster affected by your Baleful Blaze. Again, 4% ability power. So this is really good for us as well in team fights. You can get a ton of additional AP from this if you stack this with something like a Death Cap as well. So yeah, super strong item on us. So this is going to be your core. The next item we're going to build is Swiftness. And Swiftness is going to be good on us because we want to stick to our targets, right? We want to stay on top of them. We want to have more movement speed than them. And if you can stack this with your Rylai's, you can really stay in like glue on one target, and they can't really get away from you. And you can get those multiple procs of your ultimate. So you want to make sure you're building Boots of Swiftness, and then, of course, the Crystal Scepter as well. Like we said earlier, that slow effect from that initial ultimate is going to be really strong. Going to get the slow effect. It's going to increase your chance to land your EWE combo. Next core item is going to be our Zhonya's. And the reason Zhonya's is very strong is, if you're not sure what it does, we'll just buy it here. We'll press it. It makes you immune. You turn into like gold. And And this is just going to make you immune to all damage, all abilities, and nothing can hurt you for 2.5 seconds. And this is really good on a champion like Swain because he's a battle mage. He kind of gets in the middle of the fight, in the thick of it, and you take a ton of damage. So you need a way to kind of keep yourself alive for a couple seconds while your abilities come off cooldown. So just to kind of give you a hypothetical sort of scenario here, we'll spawn some enemy dummies. Let's say you're in a 1 versus 3 sort of scenario, and you actually have a unique effect with your ultimate in your Zanya. So you can ultimate and then Zanya's, and your ultimate will stay ticking. Now, this is kind of dangerous to do because people can run out. This gives them the ability to escape your ultimate if you do Zanya's, but you know, in the thick of a team fight, people typically aren't running away from you, right? Typically, people are kind of going all in. So in that sort of a scenario, you can come in here and you can ultimate, and we can Zanya's, and you can see your ultimate is still ticking. It's still dealing damage. It's still healing you, even though you're in that stasis effect. So Zanya's is actually a little bit stronger on a champion like Swain than others because you're still using your ultimate while within its effect. Next item you're going to want to build on Swain is something like Legendries. So this is going to be another item that does damage the longer that you're in combat. Swain does better the longer the fight extends for. Looking at Torment here, the first passive, damage abilities burn for 2% max health damage per second for 3 seconds. And then Suffering for each second in combat, deal 2% bonus damage up to 6%. So this actually synergizes really well with the Black Flame Torch from earlier. It was a Black Fire, I can't remember. The Black Fire Torch, right? So these two have 2 passive effects that really synergize well. And there's actually one more that kind of completes the trifecta, and that's going to be Unending Despair. This is going to give us sustained healing. Every 4 seconds while in combat with champions, deal magic damage to nearby enemy champions and heal for 250% of the damage dealt. So this is going to give you a ton of sustain. And most of your sustain is actually going to come from an item like this instead of your ultimate, especially if you can get those Demon Flare procs off. When those Demon Flare procs go off, this item is going to heal you for a ton if you can hit multiple targets with it. Okay, let's quickly take a look at runes. So he's going to be running Conqueror. You want to Conquer again because you get that sustained damage and healing from it. You get that sort of stacking effect from it. We'll also be running Presence of Mind. This can give us some mana sustain, both from damaging an enemy champion or taking them down. We'll take Legend Haste. It's going to allow us to use our abilities more often. Last Stand. This one's a champion that kind of teeters on the edge of his health bar, so Last Stand synergizes with his kit very well. For tankiness, we're going to take Resolve in the second tree, Conditioning for more armor and magic resist. Overgrowth for health scaling, and then we'll take a double Adaptive Force and health scaling. And then for summoners, you'll take Flash, Ignite. You could also take Teleport. I might actually recommend taking Teleport if you do not have kill pressure in your lane. Oh, you can see right here, we're actually looking at the support tree, but you actually take the exact same thing in the highest win rate build here. Conditioning with Overgrowth. The only thing that actually changes, I apologize, you're actually taking attack speed, Adaptive Force, health scaling. And you see here down here at the very bottom, you can change out Legendries for Riley's Crystal Scepter if you want to take that early, if you want a little bit more damage. And there's also the Morella that you could take as well that will apply grievous wounds if your team needs that. Okay, last thing I kind of talk about is like some of the strengths and weaknesses and kind of how to play with Swain. So kind of like we talked about, he has a really good CC chain. And this is a big reason a lot of people play him as support is because his EWE combo is just really strong. You get hit by that in lane, you're pretty much dead bot lane because your ADC is going to jump on top of it, especially if you're playing with something like a Jhin. Another reason that Swain mid is pretty good is because he can set your jungler up as well. This is one of the best champions in the game mid lane to actually gank for. If you can get like a Volibear or something to come in and just quickly land a quick stun, right? You can WE or EWE on top of that, and they're just 100% dead 100% of the time. So if you are like duoing with somebody, right, this is a great champion to set up ganks with. And typically you're going to want to play Swain against like melee-based champions, people that you can kind of get in the mix with. As you can probably tell, he doesn't have like an insanely high range, something like his Q, right? So if you play against like a Lux or maybe a Vigor, you know, pretty much any other basic mage is just going to outrange Swain. And you really want to pick him against like a melee or like an assassin, somebody who thrives on mobility, and Swain can kind of lock them down with all of his CC. Now, if we're talking about some of his weaknesses, one of his main weaknesses is actually grievous wounds. A lot of his kit is based on Ravenous Flock, and the soul fragments that he collects to drain from his ultimate to heal him. And he is also pretty weak when his ultimate is down, like most champions in the game, but specifically Swain, because that's where so much of his survivability comes from. And his ultimate also has a super long cooldown. It's a 2-minute cooldown. Actually maxed out. I don't think it's quite that high once you max everything out. Actually, it's probably based off of items. I think it's still like 1.5 minutes though once you completely buy all your items. So yeah, it's 92 seconds at full build. If this is the build that you end up going. So, in my opinion, you kind of play Swain to counter a melee champion. Sort of tanky, sort of bruiser comps you can kind of sustain off of, and you do not play him into any sort of poke or range comps. So, all right, guys, that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Again, this is supposed to be a guide just for beginners, brand new to Swain, have no clue about any of his abilities, or people just brand new to League of Legends in general. I try to slow it down and explain some of the base concepts, like of the kit, right?